Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here, and today, guys, I have a Total War Warhammer online commentary featuring the Warriors of Chaos facing off against their eternal nemesis, the Vampire Counts. Now, I know that's probably not true from a lore sense, but from a competitive multiplayer stance, it absolutely is. The Vampire Counts, honestly, I would say Vampire Counts are probably one of my best factions in a competitive sense, just on one-on-one. I don't know about multiplayer, but for one-on-one, and I can't remember the last time I lost to a Chaos player. It is so incredibly hard to win that matchup, so last night, after my stream, I took some pretty hard losses playing Chaos against Vampire Counts in the stream, and then on top of that, I was like, I need to figure out how to make this matchup work. Because again, it's good to be dynamic, and Chaos is one of my favorite factions, so I really wanted to just kind of do my best to figure it out. So hopefully you guys enjoy this build. I actually tried different builds. I tried Marauders, which again might not seem good. I tried everything, but I tried this build and had some limited success. Granted, I still did lose a few games, but I was also able to win a few games against pretty good Vampire Counts players. So without further ado, I present to you this Chaos build. So in the front line, I have some Marauder Horse Masters who are very good against the Vampire Counts. Number one, they have very high missile damage. They can fire while moving. So again, with 90 move speed, they can kite, Blood Knights and things like that. Granted, they will be caught by hounds, so that's something to be cognizant of. But still, they have 37 weapon damage, so they're kind of wasting their ammunition. I didn't turn off the fire at will yet. They're throwing it at Banshees. But against Vargulfs, who only have 40 armor, and Cryptors, who only have 30 armor, and Mortis Engines that have about 40 armor, these guys are absolute MVPs. And honestly, you can just sit them behind your main line and just kind of use them like traditional archers if you want to. And I think they're essential to winning this matchup. So two groups of Marauder Horse Masters. On top of that, I was kind of thinking to myself, what usually punishes me? So it's either Cryptors that getting in there and doing their thing. So I kind of found a little bit of an in-between. So I have a front line of Chaos Warriors with Halberds who have decent stats. They have 34 weapon strength and a big anti-large bonus of 16. So these guys absolutely shred Cryptors. Granted, they will take damage themselves, but they have good melee defense, somewhat low melee attack. But if you look at these Graveguard over here, they have 38, but they also have lower melee attack and melee defense. So I figured that, hey, these Halberds can probably stand and bang with those guys and do their thing. So to deal with Graveguard and the other things that would normally cut through these guys, I brought two Giants. So Giants, granted, the Terror won't really do anything against the Vampire Counts, but these guys hit like absolute trucks. So they can deal with Graveguard, they can even deal with Cryptors, and will be good at fighting Vargulfs and enemy lords and things like that. So I was hoping kind of this would cover all of my bases. So on top of that, I do have two Aspiring Champions who are just really good in this matchup. Magic damage is very valuable against the Vampire Counts because sometimes they'll try and slip a Banshee in there. And, even still, these guys have great combat stats. They're kind of like mini Chosen in a way, but still, I like them quite a bit. And, of course, Encouragement and Terror does become a huge issue because Vlad von Karstein right here is most likely going to start summoning some zombies behind my back line, like right when the fighting starts. So, I figured that would be, pretty good to just have these guys in the back kind of helping to, encourage those halberds and keep them fighting because it's very important they don't crumble. So aside from that, I did get one group of Forsaken just to kind of help out and do some flanking and some funny business. And Forsaken are pretty good at dealing with zombies and Cryptors and Skeletons, so I usually like to include at least one of those. But more importantly, guys, I have the Lord of the End Time. So Archaon, I really like him here. Did you guys see that throw? That was some Olympic stuff right there. So we do have the Lord of the End Times, who does have the Crown of Domination. So check out that radius. So that entire radius is actually immune to Psychology, which is very important against the Vampire Counts, and it does give a minor leadership buff as well. So that immunity to Psychology is going to help against the Vargulf. It's going to help against these Banshees who do cause terror, and a lot of Vampire Counts units do, like if they have like a zombie dragon or something. So definitely a great inclusion, and it keeps your troops fighting for quite a while longer. So that's pretty much it for my opponent. I also do have some Warhounds. I forgot to mention, because Warhounds are, Vampire Direwolves are one of the big answers to this Marauder pack, so I decided to bring a group of Chaos Poison Warhounds to just kind of help out and guard these guys. So aside from that, my opponent does have Vlad von Karstein, a front line of Skeleton Spears, which really caught me off guard and is definitely going to be very punishing to these Chaos Giants. On top of that, he does have Cryptors in the back line, who I should be okay against with these Chaos Halberds, and my Marauder Horsemasters back there are going to be targeting them as well. Aside from that, he does have Graveguards with great weapons and a Vargulf. So a somewhat untraditional army, but it seems pretty strong against Chaos. You have anti-large, you have plenty of armor piercing, and you got Vlad, who's very tanky and with Master of Begamut, very hard to kill. And last but not least, he does have two Banshees. So without further ado, let's let the lines collide and have some fun. So right now, I did realize that these guys do have charge defense against large, and he does have Cryptors. So I reform my ranks and I turn around, and I'm just going to use that charge defense against large to kind of get down and dirty here. So the Cryptors are going to charge in here, and again, they are braced for it, but my guys still will take some damage. But you can see, like, look at this guy. He's kind of champing that charge like a boss, and they're not going to get in that deep. And now their anti-large is going to start doing some serious work against these Cryptors in just a moment. So pretty good initial engagement there with that charge, and you can see I don't take that much shock damage. So right now, once the engagement goes, I send in the Giant, who's going to start whomping on this guy right here. So you can see the Halberds are engaged against the appropriate targets. The Cryptors here are starting to take some serious damage. And also Archaon using that Flaming Sword of Ruin, which buffs all these guys up, is very strong. But like I mentioned before, Vlad is trying to summon troops in the back line, but I did have these Aspiring Champions back here who are going to do a very good job defending my back line. they're absolutely designed to slay units like this. So they're having a field day, and these skeletons are probably going to start, going down pretty quickly here. So, but still on the far side, these Banshees are doing a pretty good job. They have armor piercing, so they're working down my Cryptors over here, or excuse me, my Cryptors, my Chaos Warriors. And he actually used Curse of Years, which I haven't seen used in a long time. But still, this entire flank was having, quite a few problems. Because, again, he did have the Banshee pressure over here. So the Marauder Horsemasters in the back line are continuing to throw spears. And they're doing a very, very good job of poking down these Cryptors. And, again, I think that's definitely going to be one of the best purposes for using these guys in this matchup. They don't have a lot of kills yet, but they most certainly will. So this was really good back here. The Aspiring Champions were able to sit back here and just clean up this fodder. So, on that same note, these Chaos Warriors, they probably aren't suffering a massive penalty for leadership. But my opponent does summon another group of skeletons, which is going to be pretty big. And you can see their leadership drops down to 14 with that rear summon, even though they're in somewhat good shape. So very tough stuff. So you can see I do use a Flamestorm right here, which unfortunately kind of pathed the wrong way. I would have liked it pathed here, but it did pretty good work over here. But still, the Chaos Giants are doing a pretty good job kind of stomping the yard right here. And, the Vargulfs and the other guys are kind of getting somewhat close to crumbling. So pretty good stuff in the front line for the most part. But you can see, yeah, these Cryptors are getting beaten down by the Halberds. This Vargulf is also taking a ton of damage from my Giants. I do have the standard die keeping them fighting. And also you can see these Marauder Horsemasters not racking up a ton of kills, but doing a lot of HP damage to these Cryptors. These ones are at about half HP. The ones in the center and these Vargulfs are very low as well. But still, over here in the flanks, I'm having some problems. So my opponent doing look how long that lasts. So over here in the wings, I'm losing both of the flanks essentially. I do have some Halberds continuing to fight and some Aspiring Champions, but for the most part, my Halberds are shaken. They're getting terrified because they're just out of that range of Archaon's crown. But still, in the middle, Archaon, Lord of the End Times, putting up a pretty good fight, though he is kind of occupied with skeletons and taking a beating from the Vargulf. He was doing a pretty good job pressuring Vlad as well, and he does have fire damage, so he's going to do very good trading here. So this is kind of what I was worried about, is the Giants kind of getting surrounded by spears a little bit, but I was trying to take out these high-value units, and you can see this Vargulf is not going to have a good time versus these Giants. They're going to get in there, and if they can make good contact, they're going to stomp the yard pretty hard. So I do get some Halberds back from route. So what I wanted to do was kind of like get them engaged in the main fight and start to form a bit of a Death Star, because my wings were getting clipped pretty hard. Though those Master Marauder Horsemen really helping here. They're doing some great damage against these Cryptors and helping me kind of secure my flanks at the end of the day. And these Aspiring Champions still putting up a great fight despite the fact that they're taking quite a beating. But you can see those Horsemasters are crumbling those Cryptors. So very good stuff. And now this is great. I have Archaon. I have a big blob here, and these guys are going to really benefit from the crown. They're not going to get terrified. But a very good summon from my opponent. That's going to come in on my back, and if it engages on these Halberds who are already shaken, and let's see, do they have that penalty right now? So let's see this. So they're attacked in the flank, which is 6, but attacked in the rear, I think, is something that will be a bigger penalty. And you can see these Cryptors coming in, but still, guys, the Cryptors are crumbling. The Flaming Sword of Ruin going down here, definitely doing a very good job. So these Halberds are just going to take these Cryptors to town. You can see this guy does not look like he's having a good time. The problem is that the two Giants are getting flanked by Skeleton Spears, and they have very low armor, and the Skeleton Spears with their anti-large bonus are going to do a great job. So right now, it's a pretty dicey battle. You can see my Giants taking quite a bit of damage, but again, those Master Marauder Horsemen doing great work for me. So a lot of my infantry corps is taking a bit of damage, but the Halberds did an okay job trading on the flanks. Even over here on this flank, I was able to do pretty well, and we traded somewhat evenly, though these Cryptors, or excuse me, these Graveguard with great opens are able to collapse right now. So Archaon was taking a lot of damage. He was being focused by the two Banshees as well as Vlad, so I did pull him out and decided to kind of get him up and around and try and get a little bit of a more optimal engagement. But thankfully, I still do have these Aspiring Champions. The Giants are doing a great job. They were actually, I believe, able to kill that Vargulf. I wish I had gotten a shot of that for you guys, but still, they're doing a really good job fighting, and most of my opponent's army is fodder. The Skeletons are crumbling, and thankfully I do have some Aspiring Champions coming in, the Master Marauder Horsemen continuing to pepper, and I might be able to stabilize here. And also the Banshees fighting against Archaon and Aspiring Champions is a really good situation for me. You can see the Banshees taking huge damage from Archaon's magic attacks. He has pretty serious weapon strength right now, over 500 when buffed, so it's going quite well. But still, my opponent doing a very good job focusing down the Giants, but even though their health looks low, they still have over 1,000 and then 2,000 HP respectively, so it's not a complete lost cause. The one thing that was really stressing me out is the fact that Vlad von Carstein is still like immaculate. He's in perfect health. My opponent also did bring the Carstein ring, which gives him even more healing. And, it's going to be very tough to kill him because, most of my forces are pretty tattered. And if you guys look, the balance of power is very heavily in my opponent's favor. So this battle was looking pretty grim. I did have some Halberds kind of coming back over here. I had 13 models here, 13, and then 3 Aspiring Champions. This Giant does break, unfortunately, but this other Giant continuing to work down those Graveguard, which kind of was really important here. And you can see Archaon is having a pretty tough time being chased by Banshees. So sometimes when you have like mounted characters and they attack, they can kind of path a little awkwardly. But still, he's going to turn and fight these Banshees, and he's just going to slay them and send them to the Shadow Realm. So he just absolutely annihilates that Banshee with just one attack. And this other Banshee is at about 900 HP. He hits it, taking about 500 HP off this Banshee. And with this other attack, he's absolutely going to just go to town and probably send her back to the pits from whence she came. So doing Chaos proud, definitely, you know, doing some good work against these Banshees. It's now crumbling, and down it goes. So Archaon taking out, you know, several, you know, I guess over 1,000 resources worth of units back there on the back line. So very, very good stuff. So I do still have some very, very healthy Marauder Horsemasters over here, but my opponent has some tattered Graveguard for the most part. So 2 groups of those. He does have some Skeleton Spears, which are crumbling. And, you know, that's pretty much it aside from Vlad. And now both of my Giants are coming back. So I do get a bit of a charge here with these Marauder Horsemasters. I figured it was time to, you know, start doing some cycle charging and things like that. And you can see it's doing some okay damage, and, you know, it's definitely going to be a bit of a leadership hit, but I did not want to leave them in sustained combat. But although they do have 24 weapon strength and 24 melee defense, they're not complete pushovers, but still, they're definitely not designed for this. My opponent does use Master Bagamut to shut them down, maybe thinking that I was going to stay there a little longer, but I'm getting some good crossfire here. And even though they don't have like heavy armor piercing, let's go ahead and see what the armor piercing is on these guys. So it's actually 8, which isn't terrible. It's not like Goblin Archers who have 1. So they're able to get in there and do a little bit of work. So we're kind of like starting to, you know, not patty cake, but sandwich my opponent's forces right now. Archaon's back in action, and I am getting another cycle charge here. So they're at 37 models, and I go ahead there and take them down to about 35 models, do some damage to some of those skeletons as well, which was great. So are there any skeletons left? They're actually both Graveguard, so pretty good. I took out quite a few models there. They are crumbling, their HP is going down, and basically I just needed to get Vlad alone. That was the most important thing. But even Vlad by himself right now, if he has like a few zombie summons, he could easily be a menace, because everything I have is extremely low. Although I do have this Chaos Giant with 600 HP, and this other one only has 200. So he does summon some skeletons behind them. He's actually, yeah, he's been summoning skeletons all game, and they're able to do some pretty good work and actually break them. So very, very well played by my opponent, kind of dealing with that threat. And I am running out of ammunition with this other group, but thankfully I have some aspiring champions coming back, 7 of those. I do have some halberds over here, and you know, he is kind of chasing down some of these units, and he does shatter them. So that was a bit of a mistake on my part, but I was trying to like get my bearings before I engage, but I figured it's, you know, it's now or never. It's time to go in there. So these aspiring champions are going to get in there, and they're going to get down and dirty on these skeletons. And yeah, they are designed for this, man. Their attack animations are so cool. I love the shield bashes. So the Giant's going to get in there, and it's definitely going to start stomping the yard on their remaining Graveguard. But those skeleton summons, skeletons aren't pushovers, guys. Like, they have okay stats. They have 22 melee defense and 26 weapon strength, so they're still a force to be reckoned with. So I do have some of these cavalry coming in the back, and they're going to put up a pretty good fight here as well. A very, very close pitched battle. So these skeletons, all 108 of them are coming in, and you can see Archaon with the Flaming Sword Ruin gets a nice little cycle charge on Vlad, but I cannot sit, because if Archaon goes and he's, you know, gets broken, and you can see Vlad gets in hot pursuit, gets a nice little rear attack there, and he summons another group of skeletons. So it was looking very, very dicey, guys. A very, very heated battle. My Marauder Horsemasters are in there fighting. They're out of ammunition. It is just looking extremely close. So my Giants are in here. They're kind of working down some of these skeletons and doing a little bit of damage to Vlad, but my opponent pretty wisely is like keeping Vlad behind the skeletons. But you can see both of these Giants just getting in here, just cleaving skeletons, doing their best to work Vlad down. But Vlad is going to, you know, he is so incredibly tanky, and he's going to put up a great fight and might even be able to break these Giants, because again, this Giant only has 69 HP, and you can see Vlad getting in there with a nice attack. And, you know, he might be able to get it, but I do pull in Archaon, who actually kind of pushes Vlad back a little bit buggy, but, you know, I did take about 100 damage from that swing, and you could see Archaon just, like, pushing him around, which is pretty funny. But he does use the Master Bagamut, which seems to be a pretty short cooldown, actually. But the skeletons, for the most part, are crumbling. Vlad's probably out of Winds of Magic, and now he's getting circle beaten by these Giants pretty good. This one actually has 100 HP, and this one has 45. So, again, I'm surprised they're continuing to fight, but unfortunately, that Giant does go down. Vlad just being an absolute monster. The Lord of the End Times doing his best to kind of keep his troops fighting, and thankfully I do have some aspiring champions in here, so they're gonna hopefully be able to win this. But still, most of my troops are just so tattered. It was so incredibly close, and these Marauder Horsemasters are eager, but still they're not gonna be able to do anything to Vlad. And I do have some aspiring champions in here, so right now I just kind of get in with the Archaon, and I'm just starting to do some cycle charging, because again, I was getting desperate. If Archaon died, like, the rest of my troops, due to the leadership hit, would probably start to rout off. So let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit here. So you can see Archaon just doing a little bit of Benny Hill, but I almost get killed there, actually. So I come in and just trying to do as much damage as I can. And look, the bounce of power is still in my opponent's favor, but it's finally starting to tilt, and we're able to take him out. So very, very well played. Very wild game. And I love Chaos for Vampire cast, because they're always so incredibly close. It's either stomping, or if Chaos wins, it's usually like a closer, really entertaining game. So very, very well played by my opponent, Avocadus Majin, I think. But yeah, you guys saw the Halberds did okay. They traded somewhat well in the front line. They were able to work through skeletons and do some damage to the Graveguard, but more importantly, they were able to mitigate the Crypt Horror threat, which was quite nice. And then the Giants, obviously big performers, granted their kills were extremely padded from skeletons, but you guys saw they fought to the bitter end. They were able to help out, and they were able to beat the hell out of that Vargulf. So that was really nice as well. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed that Chaos cast. Very well played to my opponent, Avocatus Majin. Look forward to seeing you again on ladder. And guys, more content coming soon.